there, viewer. If you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe to join the Subscribers Army.
Hello, and welcome back, Subscribers and new viewers, to another Sunday Speed Paint. Today, I'll be talking about Genshin Impact. I also have some gameplay for you all in the background and a speed paint. I thought it would be fun for me to share my journey with you all, and also because I have some favorite characters, I wanted to do some fan artwork. I only had enough time to do one, so for today I'll be doing fan art of Childe, also known as Tartaglia. So, to start off with, I thought I would give a brief overview of my game, and then at the very end I will share with you not only the fan art that I've done of Tartaglia or Childe, but also the current set of teammates that I have on my free-to-play journey. So sit back, relax, and let's start the story from the beginning. Starting off with the twins traveling to another world, we see them as almost two meteorite comets shooting off into the world of Teyvat. Now, I didn't know because I was half paying attention, it was kind of hard at the beginning, if when we're explaining the story to Paimon, if we've already been to the world of Teyvat and we had reached some sort of higher plane and we're leaving, or if we were leaving and then we got shot into Teyvat, but either way we are here and nobody seems to know us, and we just go by Traveler Paimon, and a few of the others along our journey kind of know of what our true mission is, as we're trying to find our missing sibling, since an unknown god separated us at the beginning, depending on which traveler you chose. I chose Lumine, and now we are on our journey to find Ether, our brother. Found my way to the first statue of the Seven, the Animo god of wind, Barbados, and we get granted the power of Animo, which is something that is not normal, as the townsfolk here actually receive that as visions if they are lucky enough. But no time for any of that. As we set off on our journey to Mondstadt, we see Venti and Stormterror, a big old dragon, talking to each other, which we accidentally scare away. And then we bump into Amber, who makes us an honorary knight of Favonius. We get our gliding license, and several side quests later, we learn about the Adventurers Guild and ways to level up the world and our characters, and a bunch of other fun commissionary missions that we can go off on. After a lot of leveling up, we regroup to Stormterror's lair, where, as the Traveler can apparently purify the tears of Dvalin, we learn that we can also try and purify these crystals that are on Dvalin's back. All seems restored once we achieve this goal, until, we meet Signora, a Fatui Harbinger, and apparently Venti and them do not seem to get along, as there's a lot of sass that comes from Venti, except this does no avail other than having Signora jab him in the chest and take a gnosis from his chest. Now, these we later learn are actually visions that are gifts from the gods, allowing individuals to potentially ascend to Celestia, a bit of godhood for them, but only Archons have these gnosis pieces, and there are 7 of them, and Venti is one of them. We then get told that we should probably try to seek out the Geo-Archon, who descends once a year in Liyue, that might be able to help us on our journey to finding this mysterious unknown god. After some side stories and leveling up, I made my way to Liyue, and I found the Geo statue, and although I do enjoy the Geo's powers, it's not my cup of tea, so I ended up using the Animo's powers more for these story, just for fun. And then, when we arrive for the Rite of Dissension, after exploring a little bit, we meet Ningguang a little bit, as she is the member of the Liyue Qixing, and we learn that this nation is a contracts nation, and there's a lot that's thrown at me at once here, but the gist of it is that suddenly the ceremony is interrupted as Rex Lapis falls from storm clouds and is deceased. All of the guards seal off the exits, and we're caught in the middle of this as we try to escape, not wanting to be seen as suspects responsible for this. We are saved by Childe, who steps in and explains, "Have you met Signora?" And he is a Fatui Harbinger just like her, except unlike her, he wants to help us, and he means us no harm, it seems. Little suspicious, we trust him, and we seek out the Adepti, which are the beasts contracted to protect, and we go talk to each one of them. And hopefully this will clear our names of suspicion as we meet Mooncarver, Mountain Shaper, Cloud Retainer, and Skybracer. And obviously right off the bat, Skybracer is not only my favorite, but he is in human form, while the others take on the form. Mooncarver is a deer, while the other 2 are cranes, I think. And the way that we get Skybracer, also known as Zhao, I think, is we have to give them their favorite food, and this gets them to listen to us, and once they all regroup, we kind of explain to Childe what's going on, and we get a brief flashback for the traveler, where apparently the last thing that they can recall is they were awoken by their sibling with flames and distress and the words that they spoke of Conria. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but that's all that we get. Back to the regular old story of Liyue, we meet up with Childe, who has us meet Zhongli, who is a consultant for the funeral parlor. We are tasked with the rite of parting, as Zhongli states that there's a lot of things that we need to gather, so we might as well go and buy the supplies that we need, and he seems to have no grasp on the value of Mora and is also broke, so we use Childe's money to get all of the things that we need, and as we meet back up with Childe, we start to refuse to give him information, a little bit suspicious, because he's like Signora, he's not trustworthy, and sure, he helped us out a little bit, but there must be something nefarious that he's up to. We then meet a few other characters like Chi-Chi to obtain some incense, but we get misled on a journey and we meet the actual pharmacy's boss, Bezu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who wants 3 million Mora. Childe swoops in to help us by making a deal and we get the incense that we need, but then he sorta sneaks off to speak to a Fatui member who has been following us in secret this whole time and learns of the Golden House and the Exuvia. We then meet up with Genyu, an emissary of the Liyue Chising, I hope I am pronouncing that right, and gives us directions on how we can get to the Jade Palace. Several side stories and other missing pieces of information, we are actually filled in on what happened in ancient times of Liyue through a book where the land was stricken with misery, with slain gods everywhere, and the vengeful wrath caused curses and demons, miasma, monsters, and mutations to fester the land until it was saved by Rex Lapis summoning the Yaksha, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who swore an oath to restore the order through slaughter, purge evil through battle, and to dedicate their lives to this. But an eon's worth of bloodshed made them go mad, turn on each other, or succumb to their darkness, with 3 of them dying and 1 of them vanishing without a trace. Only memories preserve them, and I don't know if it's hinted at that this is Xiao, but I'm gonna take a brief bit to connect the pieces and assume that's the case. We learn that there were several other frauds, such as Star Snatcher, who have accidentally been using some sigils to cause more harm than good, and we have to take that away from them. We then regroup with Keesing, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, who explains to us about the Jade Chamber and how we can get there, and we are filled in on the Archon War from 2,000 years ago between the gods, and now only 7 Archons remain, but they're not the same from the many years ago as they've changed throughout time. We then have a discussion of the Traveler and Ningguang in the Jade Chamber, suspecting the real culprit behind Rex Lapis's death, but they're stalling as they need to find out what these fake sigils are for and why the Fatui are using them. We then regroup as we hear from Ganyu of 5 of the 7 gods from the Archon War have passed, and Rex Lapis making it now the 6th, leaving Barbados as the only one left alive now, it seems. Now, Rex Lapis is 6,000 years old and has experienced it all, and we learn quite a lot from Ganyu, including the fact that they are actually a mix of human and Qiling, and are an adeptist. We have to rush off because we realize that Childe might have gotten their hands on what we need. As we get to the Golden House, all of the guards are knocked out, and Childe's true goal is revealed as he needs that Gnosis. He delights in battle, and he states, "Oh, I'm nothing like Signora. She likes to take the easy way out, so I want to test your skills, and I promise not to kill you, traveler," using some electro, even though he has a hydrovision powers to try and stop us. Using the combined Animo and Geo powers, we stop him for a brief moment, only for him to be closer to the Exuvia, and he's not happy, because the Gnosis that he tries to pull from the armor is missing, or from the Zubia, sorry. As he dons on some full armor in the most bone-chilling voice acting, and he attacks us with full force. And this was a fight that gave me goosebumps. I enjoyed it so much, but I was also very frightened because I thought I was underleveled. Once he kind of admits defeat using his foul legacy, as he calls it, it takes a toll on his body. After realizing that we couldn't have possibly taken the Gnosis, he realizes that perhaps Rex Lapis is alive, and they need to go with a backup plan to see if they can draw him out. So, he summons a Sile, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and all of these fake sigils were for this reason. Even the one that they gave us was a fake one. We make our way to the Jade Chamber to help the others, as we have to use all of our forces with ballistas, and we have to stop the Fatui as they're trying to destroy these and interfere as a fierce battle rages on. And this gave me goosebumps, and my hands are still sore from this fight. We finally break through, and it's enough for us to start with final fight against this beast. But the beast decides to blast the ballistas to pieces, and Zhao saves us from falling, along with all the others getting saved. The Jade Chamber itself has to be used as a weapon to destroy. Afterwards, we get a moment of peace. As some nice words were said between the Traveler and everyone, that there has to be harmony between the Protectors and its people, and so, for Liyue, the time of contracts between them is now just for the people, and the people will have to solve their own problems. We learn from Zhongli, with Childe and Signora all gathered together in one room. Childe was actually just complete pawn in this whole thing, had no idea of any of this and what in the world was going on, as apparently there was a contract between Signora and Morax, which we later learn is actually Zhongli. Zhongli, I am so sorry. And he just hands over his Gnosis, as we learn that there was a contract that he set up, and he kind of explains his reasoning for it, but he leaves it up to us, and Signora sets off as they need to find Saritsa and have an audience with her, and Childe says, yeah, no, I'm gonna meet up with you later, be on your way, I don't want to sit anywhere near you in the same boat. And it's quite crazy story, and I am just as confused as Childe, but I don't feel as bad for him. I feel like he's one of those bad guys that's caught up in the mix of even grander bad guys, and he might be a little bit more of a gray area. That's why I think he's been my favorite character thus far, and why I wanted to make some fan artwork today, but the story does not stop there, as Zhongli explains that he is no longer the Geo Archon, and for us to further our search for this unknown god, he suggests we travel to Inazuma, but it is closed off and restricted, so we need to find a way to get there. And we learn the history, actually, of why there is no visitors is because of the visions granted to those who are showing true strength in desperate and fateful moments, as apparently now there's a vision hunt decree, so everyone that's there is getting rounded up and having all of these visions slapped onto a statue to help with this, Electro's eternity. We get a few side quests and we learn about these teapots that are basically pocket realms and a whole bunch of other fun stuff, but I wanted more story about the Traveler, so what I did was a little bit of research, and we learned that the Traveler gets to, through the Adventurers Guild, travel to some ruins and find some treasure hoarders, and we see the Grand Thief hunched over as there's an upside-down statue of one of the seven with a strange purplish aura magic seeping out of it that seems to be very toxic. As we are forced to flee, we are stopped by the Abyss Order Herald, which is another addition to more stressful things that the Traveler has to deal with. We are told by Dainsleif, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that they are bad, but then this Abyss Herald mentions that Dainsleif is constantly interfering, and when the Herald mentions that your power seems familiar, you are the one, and then just poofs as we leave, we have to learn more about the connections between Ruin Guards and the Abyss Mages, and their history is that they are from an ancient nation which was destroyed 500 years ago, called Conria. This rings a bell for the Traveler and makes the connection and mentions to Paimon and the others of their fuzzy memories of their sibling, and that was the last thing that they remember. As we learn that these Ruin Guards actually had the name of Field Tillers explained to us by Dainsleif, that these were code names for weapons of war where they were told that they needed the land to be farmed with steel and blood. Yikes. This past world from 500 years ago just sounds more and more violent the more we learn about it, and I'm curious as to what in the world our sibling possibly endured that we may not remember if our sibling has possibly been here for like 500 years. Whether there's any sort of time travel or how old the travelers actually are is a little bit of a mystery to me, but there's not too much more that we're filled on. There's not too much more of this that we're filled in on, but we have to stop the Abyss from getting this power because they want this power to turn Ocile and use the core from the Guardian to topple the thrones of Celestia, which is terrible, which I think means the end of this world. And we get to Mondstadt, where we have to go to the church and ask about the missing statue without giving too much suspicion, only to find out that in Wolvendom, the Abyss is now trying to possibly corrupt Lupus Boreas, but we actually learned from Dainsleif it's probably just a case of them trying to squeeze information out of them. We thwart their plans just in time, and we help Boreas, who thanks us, and we regroup around the Storm Terror's lair, where we find out that's where the actual Guardian with the eye that they seek is. As the Herald needs this, and Dainsleif guards this himself. As we finally make our way back to the ruins, we see the Herald once more, but the battle is stopped by our sibling. Yes, this actually shocked me. I was like, oh, we actually get to see the Traveler's sibling. I honestly thought that this game was going to lead us on an endless loop of story, but then we find out that they call them the Prince or Princess, depending on which Traveler you chose, the other ones there, and we're told not to team up with Dainsleif by our sibling, and states that they are the enemy, and that we shouldn't stop the Abyss, and it needs to be done because destiny, and this is quite a lot of information thrown at us. As the sibling states, Dainsleif was the Twilight Sword, a royal guard from the final dynasty of Conriha 500 years ago, who failed to prevent the destruction of Conriha, and was cursed with immortality while the citizens became monsters that are now the Abyss Order, which, that's a lot to digest. But the Traveler pleads with the sibling, our Traveler pleads with the sibling that we should just go home, but our sibling says no, wherever we are is home, and we can't leave until our destinies and the Abyss Order engulfs the thrones. Okay. And the sibling continues to clarify by stating they have already traveled through this world once, which is a bit confusing for time's sake, and explains that we need to reach the end of our journey, just like they did to see the true nature of this world, with their final parting words being, "We'll meet again, though we need not rush. I have more than enough time to wait for you. We've always had enough time." Poof! Gone! And Dainsleif manages to jump through this portal with them, and we never see them again for a while, as far as the current story goes, as far as I know. Which makes me sad, but hopeful. It's like, well, now we know where our sibling is, but now we also have the Abyss Order to deal with, on top of the Fatui, on top of everything else that we've gone through. Somehow, the Traveler is filled with a bit of optimism and decides, thanks to Paimon's assistance, that we need to continue, and states that we need to find that god from the very beginning who separated us in the first place. So, off to Inazuma it is, except we still have a little bit of trouble with this. We managed to board a ship with Beidou, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and a new person, Kazuha, where we are tasked to compete in a challenge set up by them to obtain a vision, but we, instead of getting a vision, we want a trip to Inazuma. And very roughly, this is where I had actually finished the game, where after winning said fight and stopping a thief, we learn more about Kazuha, and apparently in Inazuma, his friend had sought out to try to win against a fight against what I'm assuming is Inazuma's head, and lost, and now because of that vision hunt decree, he escaped with the vision and was trying to restore this vision, not wanting the hope that his friend had to die out in a statue being thrown into like this 1,000-eyed, armed, winged, I forgot what it's called, statue in Inazuma. And this is all that I really know. All I know is I got on the boat, jumped off, we met Toma, I hope that's how you say his name, who was excited to meet us and says, I'll help you get your papers and all of this stuff because now you are trying to stay here, you gotta go through a whole process. Now, being the curious player that I am, I thought, there's no way they're gonna stop me from exploring the islands, and yes they do. At this point, I can't explore Inazuma without papers, so I'm stuck there. It's like those invisible barriers of wind that stopped me from exploring when I tried to leave Mondstadt. Which is fine by me. I enjoy it because that means that I can't just go off and accidentally find boss battles that I'm not prepared for, because it's already hard enough when my world level itself is level 4, my characters range from like level 40 to 60, but the enemies around me are like level 60 or higher. On top of that, there are some things that are locked behind world level cap. Like, I think that there's like adventurer's rank, and I don't remember if I'm in like adventurer rank 30 or something, but I have to be level 35 or 40 or however high I need to be to even proceed with some of the story or even the side quest stories. So there's so much to this game that I haven't even begun to actually like fully discover, but I also wanted enough behind today's speed paint video so that I knew what I was talking about for you all, as if this was a part 1 introductory type of video, so that for future videos I can just mainly focus on the characters that I'm drawing, such as if I want to make some Genshin Impact characters, some fan art of characters, or even challenges of characters from memory, or creating certain characters from scratch, because I've seen a few of those fun trends on TikTok where you design your character based off of like birthday and all of that fun stuff, and I think that would be awesome for future videos. But also, I have a huge list of characters that are my favorite that I want to do fan art for, and of course Childe was the first one that I wanted to do because his story stuck out the most to me. In case you couldn't tell by how much I gushed about him, he is a surprising neutral gray area character where he starts off as a protective character where he's like, you're a hero, and then he backstabs you for a moment and he's like, sorry, I was kind of misled, no hard feelings, can we be friends kind of character. And they're super sweet. Like, I know I've not played through the game far enough, but I have seen some cutscenes of him protecting his little brother, Tusser, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, where he tests his limits and fights, and he seems to really like fights. Like, he even states it, where he's like, I don't want to kill you, I just want to fight you and see how strong you are, traveler. And it's super endearing how he states a line of dialogue where he's just like, you make a promise, you keep it, you make mistakes, you apologize, and if you give someone dreams, you defend it. And it's super sweet the way he sees things as family, and that's why I wanted to draw fan art of him, and also why I have a huge list of characters that I want to draw fan art for, because he's not the only one. Like, some of my favorite characters, I only have seen glimpses of them, but I know that there's tons more side story that I can go back to as the game continues on. That's why I like these endless-like games, but here's a little bonus for you all for making it this far.
I'm number 11 of the Fatui Harbingers, codenamed Childe, but I also go by Tartaglia. And you? You two like to cause quite the stir, don't you? Something tells me we're going to get along splendidly.
Your strength is praiseworthy. I too shall use all of mine. So, don't you dare disappoint me.
I hope that you guys have enjoyed today's video. I know I had so much fun making this video, getting all of the preparations. I hope you guys enjoyed the little gameplay scenes, but also as a bonus for making it this far, here's all of the characters that I currently have and the main team members that I have stars next to them. I'm also really excited for future videos because I had just enough time to make some fan artwork for Childe, but I really wanted to do some of the other characters. I'm sure you could tell by the way that I spoke about some of the characters which ones are my favorite, and I also thought it would be fun for future videos. If there are any suggestions of any characters you want to see in my art style, let me know down below in the comments. I also was thinking of doing some either making OCs in Genshin Impact or turning my avatar Stencil Fox into Genshin Impact and seeing what element they are and what weapon they would have. Thanks for watching. Till next time, here's some playlists of all of my videos. If you'd like to see more and support this channel, click the link tree down below. Patreons and the Fennec Fox tier get access to sketches. Arctic Foxes get shoutouts at the end of my videos and access to all of my projects early. Red Foxes get the opportunity to be featured as a background character or a commission instead. And for free, just subscribe to join the Subscribbler Squad for weekly videos. Stay possum, and I'll see you later.